Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Mona co-star Abdi. Here are the top 5 things to know this Wednesday. Number 1, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in Saudi Arabia today, dealing with a possible response to that attack on the Saudi oil industry.
U.S. officials believe Iran was behind the attack. They're now gathering what's described as compelling forensic evidence from the remnants of about 20 drones and nearly a dozen cruise missiles at the site.
This morning, Iran's president says Saudi Arabia should see the attack on its oil facilities as a warning to end its war in neighboring Yemen. Number 2, the potential for life-threatening floods in Texas today. Tropical storm formed in the Gulf of Mexico Tuesday, and within 1 hour, it slammed into the Texas coast.
And now the remnants of Tropical Storm Imelda could dump more than 15 inches of rain in the Houston area. A creek in the city is close to overflowing its banks. It's the same region devastated by Hurricane Harvey 2 years ago. On to number 3, Ed Buck, a major donor to the Democratic Party, has been arrested.
He's facing drug-related charges after a third man overdosed in his West Hollywood apartment. Buck is charged with operating a drug house, and he's accused of injecting a man with meth last week. Police say that man survived.
Buck was already under fire after 2 men died in his home in the last 2 years, both overdosing on meth.
Number 4, Major League Baseball star has been denied bail in a sexual assault case.
All-star pitcher Felipe Vasquez of the Pittsburgh Pirates faces multiple felony charges related to his conduct with a girl who lives in Florida. Police say she was 13 years old at the time.
She is now 15. The league has placed Vasquez on administrative leave. Officials say more charges could soon be filed.
And finally, number 5, an effort to raise money to buy beer. That's now turned into a massive fundraising effort.
Carson King made a brief appearance during College Game Day on ESPN. Cameras spotted the Iowa State fan holding a sign that read, "Busch Light supply needs to be replenished." And then he gave the number out to his Venmo account.
Soon, thousands of dollars started pouring into his account.
I thought, what would be kind of a funny thing to do for a sign, and then I was like, well, maybe some guys will give me a couple bucks and I can buy a case of Busch lattes,
Oh, some Busch lattes. Once his account hit $6,000, King announced he'll donate the money to a children's hospital.
Then even more money came in, eventually hitting $22,000. And now Busch Light says it will match the donations.
Nearly $50,000?
Yeah.
But did he get the Busch Light?
The Busch latte. You know what, Kenneth? As a responsible journalist, I need to do my due diligence and go ahead and test that story out and put my own Venmo account down and see if this actually works.
Show the world your Venmo.
It is
account.
Mona is broke with a $sign on the S. Go ahead. I just want to see something real quick. Let's go ahead and drop $5.
If you see that pop up, it was not this Mona, and don't give to it.
Don't. Yeah, actually,
don't do it. Don't do it.
Forgot about that.
Yes.
All right, let's just get to the big story of the morning. The growing fallout after the attack on Saudi Arabia's oil industry. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is traveling to the region today amid rising tensions with Iran. Meanwhile, President Trump is fighting back against claims that his policy on Iran has been weak. ABC's Elizabeth Herr has more. Elizabeth, good morning.
Mona, good morning to you. And yes, President Trump is on the defense this morning, responding to his latest critic, one of his closest allies, saying that the U.S. needs to take decisive action against Iran. This morning, a team of investigators from the U.S. military in Saudi Arabia recovering and examining what one U.S. official says is compelling forensic evidence. That evidence, according to the official, collected from the debris of nearly a dozen cruise missiles and some 20 drones that targeted and hit the Saudi oil facilities.
They'll take things like flight control services and match them to known Iranian pictures of the cruise missiles they build.
A senior administration official telling ABC News there is enough information showing the weapons were fired from Iran. And now, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is scheduled to meet with the Saudi prince later today to coordinate a response to this attack. Iran has been accused of more attacks than ever since President Trump pulled out of the nuclear deal last year, including shooting down an American drone in June. At the time, Trump considered military action in retaliation but backed off. It's a move the president is now defending on Twitter after one of his close allies, Senator Lindsey Graham, tweeted the measured response was clearly seen by the Iranian regime as a sign of weakness. To which President Trump responded, "No, Lindsey, it was a sign of strength that some people just don't understand." As for those initial concerns about gas prices here in the U.S. possibly jumping as much as 25 cents a gallon in the coming days, well, that fear could be short-lived after Saudi officials just announced that 50% of its oil processing plant impacted by the weekend attack has already been restored. Mona?
Elizabeth, thank you for that report.
And today, President Trump will wrap up a California fundraising blitz aimed at wealthy Republicans across the state. He capped off the night with a dinner at the Beverly Hills home of a real estate developer, one of several events expected to collectively raise $15 million. The trip comes as the Trump administration is poised to revoke California's authority to set tougher auto emissions rules than federal standards. It's the latest move to roll back Obama-era policies aimed at combating climate change. State officials are vowing to challenge it in court. And we turn now to police across the country saying they foiled 3 more school shooting plots. In one case, an Oklahoma teen allegedly says she wanted to shoot hundreds of people for fun.
And all these 3 cases have one thing in common. People who saw something, they said something. This morning, a teenager in Oklahoma accused of threatening to shoot up her former classmates. Investigators say Alexis Wilson recently dropped out of school and was frustrated that she wasn't allowed back in. She allegedly told a coworker that she was returning to school to, quote, shoot 400 people for fun.
We do not want any of our schools getting shot up, as nobody does. And so we're going to do, everything that we can to prevent this.
Inside Wilson's home, police say they found a newly purchased AK-47 and 6 magazines, along with a 12-gauge shotgun. Authorities are thanking her coworkers at this pizza shop who called police. Investigators say Wilson made the threatening statements to another waitress and showed videos of herself shooting a rifle. Police say at the time of her arrest, Wilson claimed she was only trying to teach her coworker not to be afraid of firearms. She's pleaded not guilty.
I'm elated that right now that the threat has been eliminated.
Meanwhile, a 16-year-old in Fresno, California is under arrest, accused of saying he wanted to shoot up a school on social media. And in yet another case in California, 3 14-year-olds are under arrest after someone alerted police to what they called troubling social media posts. At the teenagers' homes, investigators say they found 2 handguns along with a replica AR-15.
I can tell you right now, officers encounter this at a school, out on the street, someone jumps out of the car and points at an officer. All I can say is it's the high probability of a deadly confrontation.
In each of these cases, authorities say bystanders did the right thing, calling police because they were concerned.
And New York is the first state to ban flavored e-cigarettes. An emergency order goes into effect immediately. Only menthol and tobacco-flavored e-cigarettes are exempted. Experts say most of the flavors are intended to appeal to young people. Almost 40% of New York's high school seniors have used e-cigarettes. Vape shop owners are considering a legal challenge to the ban.
A United Auto Workers spokesman says there has been progress in talks to end the strike against General Motors. The picket lines remain outside more than 50 GM facilities. Analysts say the strike is costing GM up to $100 million a day. A main sticking point between the sides is reportedly health care. GM has stopped paying the striking workers coverage. Those workers are eligible for benefits paid for by the union.
Another parent has been charged in connection with the college admissions scandal. The woman from Canada is accused of paying $400,000 to get her son into UCLA as a fake soccer recruit. Prosecutors say he was admitted to the school last fall and awarded a partial scholarship. The mother was arrested in Spain, and authorities are working to extradite her to the U.S. So far, more than 50 people have been charged, including actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Now to the effort to raise awareness and prevent the spread of EEE, the mosquito-borne disease claiming more and more lives.
4 new cases of eastern equine encephalitis were reported in Michigan, including 2 people who died. And there are 2 more confirmed human cases reported in Rhode Island. Experts say the fatality rate is 33%.
The symptoms of EEE include sudden fever, chills, and body and joint aches. Those younger than 15 or older than 50 face the greatest risk.
Anybody can get infection with it, but if somebody is over 50 years of age, under 15 years of age, they're not only more susceptible to it, but also more susceptible to getting serious infection.
Many communities are spraying pesticides to kill the mosquitoes. Some schools have canceled recess and other outdoor activities, and people in high-risk areas are urged to use insect repellent and keep their windows closed.
Pretty serious situation there. And this one also serious. 3 hunters are recovering from 2 separate grizzly bear attacks in Montana.
The first happened Monday morning when a bear charged 2 men in the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest. About 12 hours later, a bear went after 2 other hunters. One of them was hurt. Investigators are trying to determine whether the same grizzly was involved in both incidents. A New Hampshire mother and 2 of her kids are taking the scenic route to visit New York City for next week's UN Climate Summit.
Today, Molly Morgan and her daughters, 9-year-old Ember and 7-year-old Isaiah, begin their trip from Andover to Manhattan by bicycle. That's right, by bicycle. They want to raise awareness about climate change, and they hope others will come along for the ride.
We are biking to New York City.
Maybe some kids and parents might want to join us along the way.
How are we feeling about this trip?
That it's going to be really hard, but we're going to do it because we can.
All right, they're excited, and so are we. They're also hoping to raise money for environmental causes and solar panels for the girls' schools. That is a great, great effort. I'm just wondering, just like 10 miles into the trip, would they be like, are we there yet?
Yeah.
Are we there? We're tired of cycling.
That's why I was going to say they need to reserve that energy that they had, because they're going to need it.
That's true. Hey, a group of bikers found a way to pay back a woman who helped save some of their lives.
Yeah, you guys are going to love this story. Dozens of members of Milwaukee Iron stepped up to buy drinks at a lemonade stand set up by Darren Sturch's daughter outside of Indianapolis. The interesting part of the story is that Sturch, who is a nurse, stopped by to help the bikers after a major accident last September. And she says now their kindness made her daughter's day.
That is so cool. They're all lined up there to give back to family that helped them out as well.
Yeah, it's a story about pay it forward. She helped them, and now they're helping her daughter out. I love it.
Hey, coming up, the former Trump campaign manager battling with House Democrats refusing to answer questions after this.
Welcome back. Former Trump campaign manager Cokie Lewandowski battled it out with House Democrats as they opened their first impeachment hearing.
The president gave Lewandowski his seal of approval before arriving at a fundraiser in Beverly Hills, tweeting that his opening statement was beautiful. Lewandowski, a central figure in the Mueller report, stonewalled many questions about his conversations with the president, engaged in combative exchanges, and frustrated Democratic lawmakers who are looking into potential obstruction of justice. ABC's Pierre Thomas has the details.
Before the cameras, President Trump's former campaign manager, Cokie Lewandowski, clashing with House Democrats.
This is a House judiciary, not a House party.
You are here to participate in a continuing cover-up.
Flat out refusing to answer questions about his dealings with the president, referring to this letter from the White House, restricting the scope of his testimony, citing executive privilege.
How many times did he direct you to deliver a message to a member of his cabinet?
The White House has directed not disclose or his advisors to protect executive branch confidentiality.
You're not going to stonewall me in my questioning.
But that did not stop House Judiciary Democrats from pressing to learn more about a key scene in the Mueller report regarding potential obstruction of justice. President Trump calling Lewandowski into the Oval Office and dictating a message for delivery to Jeff Sessions. The goal, to get the then Attorney General to limit the special counsel's investigation. Lewandowski confirming the president made that request.
Didn't you think it was a little strange that the president would sit down with you one-on-one and ask you to do something that you knew was against the law?
I didn't think the president asked me to do anything illegal.
During a break from the hearing, Lewandowski took time to promote a PAC, encouraging him to make a possible Senate run in New Hampshire. Pierre Thomas, ABC News, Washington.
Israel's 2 main political parties are deadlocked after a repeat election, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's job may be in jeopardy. So let's go across the pond to Julia McFarlane, who's in our London bureau, for the latest. Good morning, Julia.
Good morning, Mona. Exactly. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's longest-serving prime minister, as you say, his job is now on the line because exit polls and the results are still being counted over in Israel show that his party, the Likud party, and the party of his main challenger, a fellow former army veteran Benny Gantz, they are neck and neck in the polls. Now, interestingly, his former defense minister, Avigdor Lieberman, and his party, his ultranationalist Yisrael Beitenu party, may hold the balance of power. Now, Lieberman was talking to a campaign rally yesterday, and he was discussing the way forward, and he suggested that the way forward was to form a national unity government with those two parties. Benny Gantz has previously said that he would never serve in a government with Netanyahu, so maybe the Likud party are considering forming a national unity government with someone else leading the party. So it's unclear what the results will be, and of course how the coalition talks are going to shape out. Neither party at the moment set to form a majority. You need 61 seats in the Knesset, and both parties falling considerably short of that.
Wow, so many questions remain there. Moving on to something I heard that you're really excited about, Julia. The big news from Lord of the Rings fans. Amazon Studios has announced it will film a television series, once again using New Zealand as a backdrop for Middle-earth. So, Julia, let me ask you, what do we know about this show so far?
So this is a prequel of sorts to the original trilogy. Amazon, they bought the rights to this a couple of years ago. Filming has now begun, super exciting. And the New Zealand, the Kiwis, they're super excited about hosting another fantasy epic. They made they had such positive benefits from the previous Lord of the Rings installments being filmed on location in New Zealand. Even if you go to the airport in Wellington, they had separate queuing lines for orcs and elves. They really incorporated the Middle-earth identity into their culture. So not a lot of detail about the plot lines has been released, but they have started shooting on location in New Zealand, and it's something that the Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, she's super excited about as well.
I'm excited too. I wonder if Orlando Bloom's coming back.
I think I don't know. It's kind of it's what we know is it's a prequel, so they're telling stories before the main, but it is set to be the most expensive show ever made, $1 billion for this TV show. So we can expect some pretty big things from this show. I'm pretty excited, guys.
Yeah, at least they have you as a viewer. Hey, thank you, Julie. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Let's check our notifications now.
All right, we're going to start with an update to the chicken sandwich wars of 2019. KFC has now entered the game. They decided that they were going to come in with this game changer, and I put that in quotation marks. It's a chicken sandwich, that's right, with a donut for a bun. Remember the double down sandwich a few years ago where the chicken was the bun? Now they decided to switch it up a bit and make it a donut.
All right, speaking of all those calories, take a look at this giant schnitzel made at a festival in Germany. It weighs 2,663 pounds. That's a lot of schnitzel.
Feed a village. Remember those videos of Navy pilots chasing UFOs in late 2017 and early last year? Well, the Navy said, forget about it. They want you to forget them. A spokesperson for a high-ranking naval official tells an intelligence website the images were never cleared for public release, and the Navy officially considers the objects unidentified aerial phenomena.
Of course, it's not saying the aircraft are connected to aliens, but the Navy would rather you just forget about them.
Like Men in Black, just hold out the thing. And a furry intruder made its way in and out of a California home.
Yeah, check out a mountain lion leaving through the bathroom window of a house outside Sacramento.
That's how I used to sneak out of my parents' home. Just kidding. Sheriff deputies say it got in through the front door and that it didn't steal anything. Just kidding, Mom, I didn't sneak out. And finally, a special offer for fans of Downton Abbey.
The highly anticipated Downton Abbey movie is finally set to hit theaters this Friday.
But for those fans seeking a more immersive Downton Abbey experience, there is this, the real Downton Abbey, Highclere Castle in Berkshire, England.
Airbnb has announced that for one night only, November 26th, the entire 300-room castle will be available for one party of up to 2 people. The price only $150, but you'll need to bounce on the moment. The listing opens. Only one lucky party will nab it. We've had a lot of fun this morning, but we're also celebrating the life of one of our colleagues who passed yesterday. We turn to the passing that's impacting all of us here at ABC News. This morning, we honor the memory of our colleague and friend, Cokie Roberts.
Cokie passed away of complications from breast cancer. She was 75, and she once said that her career in journalism wasn't planned and that it, quote, just kind of happened. Well, we're all glad it did. ABC's Karen Travers has more on Cokie's remarkable life.
Cokie Roberts was a fixture of Washington, known for her sharp reporting and analysis, her quick wit, grace, and kindness, notably her support of women in journalism. A role model and a mentor, Cokie encouraged women to push for a seat at the political roundtable. The daughter of longtime U.S. Representatives Hale Boggs and Lindy Boggs, Cokie grew up with a front-row seat to American political history. Her full name was Mary Martha Corinne Morrison Claiborne Roberts.
Thank you for having me, and please call me Cokie.
She considered joining the family business, but found her calling as a journalist.
It was essentially reporting and then writing very brief little stories, and I loved it.
She spent 10 years at NPR before finding her longtime home here at ABC News, first as a contributor on This Week.
What is your definition of womanizer?
Most women know it when they see it, Senator.
And later co-anchor with Sam Donaldson from 1996 to 2002.
Until next week, that's This Week.
Cokie was a key part of ABC News' political coverage for decades, interviewing presidents, politicians, and first ladies. Cokie wrote several New York Times bestsellers detailing untold and remarkable contributions of women in American history. She received countless awards and more than 30 honorary degrees. But the most important things to Cokie were her Catholic faith, her beloved New Orleans, and her family. Married to her husband Steve, also a journalist, for 53 years, Cokie was the mother of 2 and grandmother of 6. In 2002, Cokie battled breast cancer and spoke candidly about being on television while wearing a wig.
I felt, first going on the air in a wig, that I looked really goofy.
It was that honesty, that humanity that made her stand out amid the noise of politics, and why Cokie was so beloved by those of us here at ABC News and by viewers across the nation. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
And that's our question of the day. We want to hear from you. What are your memories of Cokie Roberts? Tell us in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live.
So many people have so many memories. We've been sharing them here in the halls of ABC, New York and D.C., just really across the globe. And I can't help but to think about my first meeting with Cokie. I was in the D.C. bureau, and for some reason, somehow, someone decided to put my office right next to the legendary Cokie Roberts. I saw her nameplate, and I freaked out. My stomach I had a pit in my stomach. My heart was fluttering, and I remember within a few weeks I saw her. I heard her coming down the hallway. She was in her office, and I introduced myself. And when I introduced myself, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to this legendary figure? And she just completely made me feel like family and made me feel like I was one of her kids, grandkids. And she treated everyone like that. And I said earlier this morning that I don't dare think that I was special, because she wanted everyone to feel like family, and she treated them that way. And she would often say, ask me, when she'd see me in the halls, what are you working on? And I would just give her a list of stories, doing radio and TV and digital for ABC News. And I was like, I'm doing this and this and this. And I was like, I'm so busy. And I would look stressed, and she would look at me and say, good. It's good that you're working on all those stories and doing this much work. That's what you're here for. And so she inspired so many people. She was a mentor, she was a trailblazer, and just hearing so many stories come from people about her, it's just really incredible and remarkable, the life that she led.
Definitely, and you made an interesting point. You say, obviously, one thing that really stands out about her is her contributions to the world of journalism and the path that she's paved for female journalists. But you said that she has also inspired both male and female co-workers alike. So you're a testament to that as well.
I am, but I will say that her legacy is what she did for the women and for as we mentioned, we say the word trailblazer. Cokie Roberts was there for not only the women in this building and throughout this network, but for women in this industry across the globe, and that is quite a legacy to leave.
And for that, we appreciate her.
Well, coming up, we'll have a look ahead at today's big events.
And stick around to see what teen climate activist Greta Thunberg has to say when she met former President Barack Obama after this.
Here's what to watch out for today. President Trump starts his day in Los Angeles at a fundraising breakfast before a roundtable and fundraising lunch in San Diego. From there, he'll visit the border wall near Otay Mesa before returning to Washington.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, teen climate activist Greta Thunberg will testify before the House Select Committee on the climate crisis. Facebook, Google, and Twitter officials will testify to the Senate Commerce Committee on mass violence, extremism, and digital responsibility.
And the House Foreign Affairs and Homeland Security subcommittees hold a joint hearing on white nationalist terrorism. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will announce a decision on interest rates following a two-day meeting. Powell has been the subject of much criticism from President Trump on Twitter, who said Monday that Powell and the Fed don't have a clue.
Plus, don't forget to tune in to The Debrief for an update on all our top stories and The Briefing Room for a breakdown on the latest headlines in politics. And as we mentioned, Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg is scheduled to testify today on Capitol Hill.
But first, the 16-year-old who inspired young people across the globe met up with former President Obama. He was impressed by her activism to combat climate change, saying she's not afraid to push for real action. And she told him there's a lot children can do to help.
No one is too small to have an impact and change the world. So just do everything you can and be creative.
You and me were a team, huh?
Yes, we.
Do you know about fist bumping? Do you believe in fist bumping? Yes. You can do the boom.
Thunberg traveled to the U.S. on a zero-emission sailboat. Yesterday, she told lawmakers, quote, "I know you're trying, but just not hard enough. Sorry."
I was waiting for her to tell the former president, nobody fist bumps anymore.
Oh, right, exactly.
That's cool,
That's not
kids.
cool. It's not cool. She's doing a lot of cool things there and fighting for what she believes in.
Definitely.
Hey, that's it for us. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow.
Have a great Wednesday.